Have you ever felt like you were born in the wrong generation? Whether it's the music, the fashion, or the entertainment, we've all had the moment where we long for a different era. So let me take you on a journey, an imagination of sorts, through the bustling streets of the 19th century England. Picture this. It's late at night, and you're making your way home through the crowded cobblestone streets of London. The air is thick with stench, and there's a dim glow of gas lamps above you. Everywhere you turn, you see mice scurrying between the shadows, and the noise of the city echoes around you. Everything feels familiar, yet there's something out of place that you can't quite place. And then something stirs your instinct. You glance up, and your heart drops. A figure, what appears to be a man, bounds easily across the rooftops of buildings, defying all logic. At first, your mind races with thoughts of, how could someone do that? Could it be a superhero? A guardian watching over the city? But as you look closer, the shape becomes more sinister. No, this isn't a caped savior. This looks more like a demon. Content warning. This video includes description of violence, murder, death, rituals, and other supernatural content. Listener discretion is advised, as some stories may be unsettling or sensitive to certain audiences. Turn down the lights, snuggle up tight, and get ready for another Tuck Tale. Welcome everyone to another episode of Tuck Tales, where we'll take you across the seas, exploring each corner of urban legends. I'm Afrina, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Diski.
And let's just get started with the story. Now, a lot of legends and folklore tend to talk about figures that look like devils or demons, or humans making deals with the devils. There's so many stories where this is a stronghold for an aspect. And today, we are going to be talking about a seemingly normal man, except he looks like a devil, and he's called the Spring-Heeled Jack. Now, when I think of the Victorian era, I think of the Industrial Revolution, the factories. I think of lots of pollution smoke, and I think of the pretty dresses the women wear and the hats and the suits that the men wear. But there was another side to the Victorian age running parallel to the world I had been thinking about just now. An age that believed strongly in ghosts, in fairies, in reading fortunes, and seances. Some Victorians believed in a man called the Spring-Heeled Jack. The first sighting of Jack was reported late September 1837 by a businessman who inspired the story I shared earlier. So it was actually his story. He was returning home late at night in London when he was terrified by a figure of a man who took a huge jump with ease over the high railings of a cemetery called the Barn Cemetery. This figure jumped and landed in front of the businessman, but he hadn't been stunned, rather he froze in place and later was able to give a description, and he said that the figure looked like a muscular man of devilish features that included large pointed ears and pointed nose and glowing eyes. Now, after that first sighting, a lot of other sightings started to occur. Another bizarre encounter occurred when Polly Adams and her two friends were attacked by a similar creature as the one which attacked the businessman in the cemetery. But this time, there was an attack. He didn't just stare at the businessman. Polly was separated from her friends. Her friends ran away, and the man of odd appearance tore at her clothing and scratched her stomach and just attacked her. And she later described that those scratches felt like ironclad fingers. They were really heavy and cold. But there's more. In October 1837, in London as well, a servant called Mary Stevens was walking to her place of work after visiting her parents. During her journey, a strange figure jumped from a dark alley and managed to trap her within his arms, similar to the Polly Adams case. And the creature scratched at her with claw-like hands that she also reported they felt like cold and clammy, like a hand of a corpse.
Wow, that's so scary.
So scared that she screamed until people rescued her and ran to her aid, and her attacker ran into the night and disappeared. These attacks did not go unnoticed by the media, and it wasn't long until the attacker was given the name Spring-Heeled Jack.
Oh.
because his heels were like
Mhm.
springs. He kept jumping around. Now, these attacks that I've mentioned were mostly on the street, but he did more than just attack in the shadows at night. He did more than that. Now, before going into that, I'm going to describe what he looks like so you can understand what these people in the Victorian era was dealing with at the time. People said that he was the boogeyman of England. He was a fire-breathing devil man who could jump unnaturally high. He was described as someone resembling a ghost, or an imp, or a devil, or even in the shape of a large white bull. So he just looked very unnatural. He looked like a human, but at the same time he didn't. A lot of people started reporting strange crimes being attributed to assailants in the guise of a ghost, a bear, or a devil, and there were so many cases to the point where there was a theory in which the monster might have been a group of rich men that was just doing a dare, because it was happening so often that they didn't know who this was. Maybe it was humans. It was so rampant that even Sir John Cohen, the Lord Mayor of London at the time, he discussed this incident at a public house session. He stated he received multiple complaint letters. He revealed the contents of one, in which it said that there were people visiting houses in the form of disguises that looked like a devil or an imp, and a case where a woman had actually gone crazy after opening the door. After that, a Times newspaper, it was printed in the newspaper that a gardener saw a creature in the shape of a bear or a devil or some other four-footed animal growling loudly, and then they climbed over the garden wall and ran along the garden wall in all 4 feet like an animal. It then jumped off the wall and then chased the gardener for quite some time until I think it just got bored, left him alone, and just jumped back out. So nobody knows what he is, but there were reports and official newspaper to his attacks. So it's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
But he's always looking in a weird way, and people don't really know how to describe him other than he just looked like a devil or a bear or something weird that not a human should have. Okay, so let's dive into one of the spookier encounters with Jack. There's just so much that I can go into because this time in England, I don't know why there were so many encounters. The first story that I'm going to talk about is the encounter of Jane Alsop. So it's late one evening in 1838, and 18-year-old Jane hears a knock at her door. Knock, knock. She opens it and she finds a man claiming to be a London policeman. He was wearing something like blue, like policeman dress, and he was saying, "For God's sake, bring me a light. We've caught spring-heeled Jack in the lane." Thinking she's about to help the police, maybe she's panicking, something's going on outside, she quickly runs back inside the house. She grabs the candle and she heads back to the door. But as soon as she approaches the door and the guy, she notices that behind him, he was wearing a long, dark cloak. She brushes it off as a bit weird, but she just said, "Here, there's the candle." And that's when he throws off his cloak, revealing his true nature. He looked like a beast, a devil with pointed ears and pointed nose. And suddenly, he's spewing blue and white flames from his mouth, and his sharp claw-like fingers are reaching out to her, scratching her. So this devil can breathe fire.
Yeah. Then what happened to the woman?
So she started screaming, of course. She started screaming. She said, "Help, help." And her sister heard her. And her sister rushed to the door, who manages to help her and pull her back inside the house. And weirdly, as soon as the sister closed and slammed the door, the attacker doesn't run. He actually knocks, like he's waiting for them to open it again. How crazy, right? When there's no response, he says, oh my god, whatever, and he disappears. This attack only fueled his reputation as a devilish figure, because Jane Alsop was actually a famous person at the time. She was a noble lady. And then just a few days later, another attack happens, and this time a young woman named Lucy Scales is walking with her sister when a shadow just jumps out, blowing blue flames right into her face.
Oh my god.
Causing her to faint in shock. Now, after these incidents, reports of Jack started popping up everywhere. People claimed to see him leaping from street to street, disappearing after he jumped on rooftop. It's just madness. But they believed that it was so rampant, copycats started coming up and trying to do what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, I I see.
But by 1904, he made what's considered his final sighting in Liverpool, where witnesses saw him jump across rooftops again and vanish. And people believe that that was the last time the real spring-heeled Jack was ever seen. So it's like, we don't know if he's a devil, we don't know if he's a man just randomly attacking, but his identity has never been revealed until now.
Until now?
We don't know who he actually is.
Wow.
If he's a spirit or a devil or something. Now, as for theories though, we do have theories on who he is. Some thought that Jack was actually Henry de la Poer Beresford, an Irish nobleman with acrobatic skills, who's just out there to scare everybody. He has so much health and acrobat and jumping skills that he can go around and scaring everybody. But others suspected that Jack might not even be human. Maybe he's actually a demon, an alien, or some supernatural manifestation meant to disrupt the spirit of that time. So a lot of people, because the identity has never been found, they go towards supernatural meanings. But here's where things get even weirder. In 1855, years after Jack's most infamous attack, people in southern England found mysterious hoof-like tracks in the snow, and they called it the devil's footprints. So they saw these footprints, but it didn't look like a human's footprints, and nobody could explain what they were. Some think that this bizarre event may have inspired more fear and mystery and might have inspired the whole story of Spring-Heeled Jack, because those footprints, nobody knew what animal, because they couldn't attribute it to any animal. It's not a human step, so they didn't know, and they called it the devil's footprint. It's all pretty eerie, and despite all theories, his true identity actually remains one of the strangest mysteries of 19th century London.
It's so scary and mysterious and at the same time weird. I have the theory that he is only a man, but what about, there's just so many weird things.
Yeah. Weird things that don't fit the puzzle.
Yeah. Do you think this is some kind of like group of people?
It could be. It could be what group of people that's just doing a dare or tricks, but how can there be no evidence?
Maybe they are powerful people.
Could be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he is, honestly, but I just found the story to be kind of weird that until now, nothing is really known. Maybe he's a manifestation, maybe he's a made-up story that people made, maybe exaggerated, or maybe he's a demon. But the fact that attacks have come out of this is very scary.
Yeah.
But thankfully, in the reports that I saw, nobody actually died. And what's even scarier is that we might never know the truth and the identity about the Spring-Heeled Jack. Because even if he was a man, he's dead now, and we'll never know. And that's all for the story. I know it's a short one, but I just wanted to tell you any mysterious urban legend that's never been really solved. And if you're someone who loves creepy stories based on urban legends, make sure to tune in every Thursday of the week on Spotify, YouTube, and all other major podcasting platforms. Until next time, bye-bye!
Bye!